In this video, I want to show off kind of an unpolished proof of concept for an idea that I've had for a while. Sometimes you're playing a CTM map, and the map maker will make it such that mobs have special loot tables, and certain mobs might have rare drops. For example, this zombie just dropped an apple. And it can be difficult for the player to discover the loot tables of the different mobs, and it often basically the incentives work against you. A lot of the times in a CTM map, the incentive is to not fight any mobs and to just avoid them. And so I was trying to come up with a way to incentivize the player to fight mobs sometimes, as well as to make it easier to discover the loot tables of mobs. And so the idea I had is for a potion of Foresight, and the idea is you can drink a potion, and it will give you a buff where you can see what rare drops different mobs have. And so, for example, this zombie is glowing and has an apple above his head, and so that means that this zombie is going to drop an apple. And so if I kill him, we can see, sure enough, he dropped an apple. Whereas if I kill some of these other zombies who just have a 0 above their head, they don't have any kind of rare drop. They just have the normal zombie drops. If we kill a few of them, we might get some zombie flesh, like this guy just dropped, for example. And so that's the basic idea, kind of like a basic proof of concept, is basically there's a trigger where you can drink a particular potion, and it's going to show you what the different mobs can drop. And so if I do... let's do summon 100 spiders to get a bunch more spiders in here. Perhaps they have some rare drops, and so perhaps somewhere in the map you would have access to be able to get some of these Foresight potions. And we can drink one, and then for a limited period of time we'll have a buff that allows you to see what these spiders are going to drop. And I can see that these spiders are dropping flint, and there's an even rarer drop where sometimes a spider can drop a cake, it looks like. And you can see exactly which mobs have the rare drops because they're glowing. And as a result, if you were running and playing through a CTM map and there were a bunch of monsters in an area, if you had the Foresight potion, you might be able to drink the potion and discover, hey, this mob over here, I think was it this guy? I don't even remember. Looked like he was going to drop something special and good. Looks like I got the wrong guy. One of these guys had a cake. And so it might incentivize you to go into a horde of mobs in order to fight a particular mob in order to get the drop, as well as just making it easier for you to learn what the rare drops are, because you only have to see the mobs. You could see 100 mobs and discover that maybe there's a 1 in 100 chance that a spider is going to drop a cake, as opposed to a typical loot table where you actually have to fight and kill 100 mobs before you discover there's a 1% chance that they're going to drop something. And so that's kind of the basic idea of this whole potion of Foresight thing. And yeah, like I said, it's just a proof of concept, and so I don't know that it's necessarily like the best implementation. Like, I've chosen to make mobs glow when they have a rare loot drop, and then they just display that particular drop on top of their head. You can see here zombies actually have a 1% chance that they will drop diamonds. And so there's a zombie over here who has a diamond floating above his head, and if we kill him, you can see I just picked up a diamond. And then I think there's another 4% chance that they'll have apples in my particular implementation. And then all the rest just display the number 0 above their head. And the idea there is, if you happen to be in a group of mobs, and none of the mobs standing in front of you have a rare drop, you can still tell that, like, the potion is under effect, the Foresight potion, because they'll have 0s above their name, as opposed to thinking that the potion ran out, versus that there just aren't any mobs with rare drops kind of in your field of view. But you could imagine other possible implementations, other ways to display when mobs have custom loot drops, and how you want to communicate that to the player. And so this is just one idea of kind of how to do it. And the way that it's actually implemented, if I go into, oops, let me go ahead and re-drink the potion, because I only have it lasting for like a minute or 30 seconds or something right now. The way that it's actually implemented, if you go and take a look, there's actually armor stands that have the item that's being displayed as the head slot of the armor stand, and the armor stands are just getting constantly teleported to the corresponding mob that's actually going to drop that piece of loot. And while it does use loot tables, it uses them kind of in a non-standard way, which is every new mob that comes into existence, there are commands running inside functions that go ahead and use a pseudo-random number generator to go ahead and compute whether or not a mob is going to have a certain rare loot drop, and use scoreboard tags to associate individual mobs with what loot they're going to drop. And then the potion, when activated, then goes and uses that information, the tagged information on the mobs, to display things on certain mobs. And when the mobs, when they're first summoned in, and the functions go and decide that a mob's going to get a rare loot table, it goes and puts a custom death loot table on that particular mob that basically gives it a rare loot drop, as well as all of the normal loot drops that you would get for that mob. And so just kind of a proof of concept of a way to make it more obvious and intuitive, a way for players to discover the rare loot tables of mobs in-game just through playing the game, as well as kind of an interesting buff that might make players more incentivized to fight in groups of mobs, as opposed to simply run past or run away from groups of mobs in a CTM map, which often tends to be the best strategy. And so yeah, I just wanted to show it off. I don't know that I explained it that well. You can ask for more details in the description in the comments of this video. And yeah, if people have other good ideas for like how to display this or things, I'm all ears. But it's just kind of a proof of concept to show off an idea. I think this could also be useful in other games. Could you imagine having a potion of Foresight in Terraria when you're trying to farm for the Ankh charm? Wouldn't it be nice if rather than having to fight like 400 corruptors to finally get the rare drop you're looking for, you only had to see 400 corruptors on the screen and just kill the one that's actually glowing and showing off that he has the rare drop? It would be really nice, basically, for farming loot that takes, you know, rather than taking 4 hours, maybe it would only take 2 hours if you had this kind of buff available to you in that game. Anyway, I'm rambling. I've been continuing to play around with more ideas with functions and advancements and loot tables and commands and all those types of things. I hope, as always, that you guys are having a great day, and I will see you again soon with more command block trickery. Bye-bye.